who has inspired you along your journey and how?
I think probably, you know, as a youngster, my family, my mother and father were massively inspirational. They worked really hard. You know, they were both working parents. My mum having 2 jobs at different points in time, you know, to pay bills. And they really did place in me a work ethos around you have to work hard. My father as well, my father only has 2 daughters, so he's got no boys. He's a very liberal-minded individual, and spent a lot of my adolescence with him telling me just because I was a girl didn't mean I couldn't. And then you would ... you'd finish the sentence. And he'd be the parent that would go into the secondary school to say, why has my daughter got to do cooking? Why can't she do woodwork? What do you mean woodwork is only for the boys? You know, so he raised me with the sense of the world is your oyster and you can go and do anything, be anything that you want to be. And I think that was inspirational for me. I think to probably have some of the resilience I do to just keep driving forward.
I'm interested in hearing a bit more about your role and what talents you feel you use in your current role.
I don't like to think of myself as talented, but if I use your language, my talents are around things like how I communicate, how I negotiate, how I influence, how I coach, how I enable people to be the best that they can, how I provocate. So I think, I can be quite provocative at times and asking people the why questions. So why do you do that? What's the reasons behind it? What could we do differently? So I think probably I spend more time in a sort of facilitation mode in my career. And that's probably been the talent that I've had to hone most as well.
Obviously have a lot of reflections, and you've progressed to a senior level over your time in the NHS, and it does make me think about when Em first started her NHS career at the very beginning of things. If you think back to those days, and if you could advise 2 things to yourself at the start of your career, what would you say to yourself?
My advice to myself is remain true to yourself. That would be my first piece. And my second would be patient. Be patient with yourself, because every experience I've had in the NHS, I have learned a huge amount. And actually, I think there's a piece about be patient, that you are on a learning curve. And it's okay to be on a learning curve. And it's okay to be a leader and say, I don't know the answer. I think that's the other thing. I think I've probably spent a lot of time in my career thinking that seniority equals I must know what to do. And actually, seniority doesn't mean I always know what to do. And if we think about the issues that our staff are facing now in terms of this activity and demand and our vacancy rates, and I can have really distressed people tell me I'm really tired, there's not enough of nurses, what's going on, what's happening, what's the trust doing, and feel quite aggrieved by it, rightly so, because they're facing patients every day knowing that there should be 4 nurses and there's only 2. So I get it. In my past, I'd have gone, what's my answer? I've got to have an answer. I've got to be able to say there's 10 people starting tomorrow and 5 people starting next week. And and actually, for this wicked problem, there isn't a short-term answer. There isn't a short-term solution. And I think for me, it's about having confidence in being able to say to people that you're listening, you're hearing what they're saying, you're empathizing, but you might not have a solution. So I can empathize with your problem, but I might not have the answer. But just to be human in that moment and empathize and acknowledge it is probably what's just as important as being able to pull out a Gantt chart that says what your project plan is to resolve the problem. Because actually what people want is a human response. So I think those are the 2 bits of advice I'd give to myself.